Hey everyone, welcome to the channel where we dive deep into ethical hacking and cybersecurity. Today, we will be talking about Nmap, one of the most powerful network scanning tools for ethical hackers and penetration testers. And if you are on to penetration testing or just want to learn how networks work, this is a must-know tool. So let's get started. So Nmap is a short for Network Mapper, which is an open source tool used for network discovery, security auditing, and penetration testing. It helps you map out a network, find open ports, and detect running services. But remember, always use it ethically and only on networks you have permission to scan. So let's first cover out the basics that everyone should know before we proceed to some practical applications. So here we have our slides. Let me zoom it. Okay, so as you can see, uh, here are us with a Kali Linux machine, and basically this is a target system that we will be scanning using our nmap command. And first of all, let me tell you that on our system there are total of 665,535 ports, in which some of them are open and some of them are closed or filtered by firewall. Basically, firewall is a security framework, you can say that, which monitors the traffics that goes in and out of a system or a network. So basically it filters out the network, so if it's a bad traffic it doesn't let that enter into the system. Okay, so you can say firewall is a protection framework that does not allow bad traffic to enter. Okay, so let's see the basic syntax. As you can see on your screens, the basic syntax of nmap command is nmap, then the target IP. Then if you want to specify a port range, so yeah, as we can see that the basic syntax of this nmap command is nmap target IP. Then if we want to specify ports, then we can also specify that by using dash p flag, as you can see here. So we first write dash p and then the port that we want to scan. So this is a basic nmap command, and this is how it looks like. Let's scratch or dig some underground theory that's associated with this. Okay, so here we are. So as we know that, or let me tell you that on network or on internet, there are two protocols that govern the you know how data is transferred from one place to another, and that's TCP, that's transmission control protocol, and UDP, and that's user datagram protocol. Okay, so let's first understand TCP. What's TCP? Okay, so let's as you can see here that, imagine this is a client, or this is your machine, and this is a server where you have some of your information stored. So you want to access your information. So first you have to establish a connection to the server, and this is known as it's a first step of establishing a TCP connection, which is known as SYN, or also known as synchronize, which is the full form of this. Then the server receives your request and gives an acknowledgement to it and throws a request back to you, and which is known as SYN-ACK, or synchronized acknowledgement. And then there's the third step, which is the final step, after which a full TCP connection is established between your system and the server, and this is known as acknowledgement. And when all these three steps are done, we obtain a full three-way handshake. So uh, the question is, why do we need two you know protocols to transfer data? As you can see, TCP is a is way more systematic. For example, if you want to upload some data to the server, and let's say you are experience lag in your network. Okay, you are having some network issues, and let's say you got cut off from your network for some time, let's say 3 to 4 seconds, and what you were sending, some got transferred, but the rest was not transferred due to the cutoff. So it doesn't mean that it wouldn't be, it would not be transferred to the server. It will be transferred. That's due to TCP. TCP ensures that the data packets, all the data packets that are, that that leaves the client system, reaches the server in appropriate order, from in the order that they in which they left. Okay. But UDP is different from that. UDP is, for example, in if services using UDP protocol to transfer data, and if some of the data packets get lost, then these data packets will not be retrieved. Okay, these data packets are then lost forever. You cannot retrieve them back. So this is a you can say a drawback of UDP in comparison to TCP. TCP is more systematic. It ensures that the packets reach in order and there is no loss in the data packets. While in the case of UDP, UDP is not systematic. It does not ensure that the data reaches the server in appropriate order, and it does not even ensure that the data, the complete data that was, that you wanted to send has reached the server or not. Okay, so here are the differences between these TCP and UDP, and let's move on to another thing. So uh, here are some basic commands that you need to know. So here's a command which is an Nmap command. If you want to scan a domain address, if you use Nmap and specify the domain name, you want to specify an IP range. If you want to scan an IP range, then you can simply write Nmap in your terminal, and then you can start off the IP from wherever you want, and end at the range that you want to scan. So here I am scanning 24 IPs, 25 IPs from 1 to 25, and then there is also scanning a subnet in which we do Nmap, and this is known as a subnet. And what is a subnet? Let me explain this to you. Imagine that you have a very big classroom. So imagine yourself as a teacher. Okay, now imagine, let's say you have a classroom full of 200 students, and a single teacher is appointed to them. So a single teacher cannot teach such a large number of students at once. So what the teacher will do to solve this problem? So let's say the teacher divided the students into 4 groups, each having 50 students. Okay, and each group is assigned a leader. Okay, so the teacher will contact with the leaders of the 4 groups and tell them what to do. So here less effort is used, and more work can be done. Okay, and the work can be done efficiently. So this is what a subnet is. So a subnet is what it does. If we have a large network, we break it into smaller manageable parts so that devices like views, like computer phones, they can communicate more efficiently. Okay, so here it is. You can read it. I will give a link to this. Okay, you can read this entire slide if you want. And let's enough with the talking. Now let's move on to some practical applications. So I have my Kali Linux machine open. Let me log into it. Okay, here we are in our Kali Linux machine, and okay, so this is a disclaimer to all of you. Uh, what I am teaching, or I'm giving you the knowledge of all this, is just for educational purposes, and you should not and must not do it without the permission of others. Okay, okay. I mean, what do I mean by this is that you should only test your the networks or the systems that you own. And in this tutorial, and for this tutorial, I will be testing this Metasploitable tool, which is a virtual machine. Okay, so let me start this up. Okay, so as you can see, Metasploitable has booted into we are booted into this machine, Now let me enter the password for a second. Okay, so as you can see, we are in a Metasploitable 2 that's running on VirtualBox. So I'm first of all, we need to know the IP address of this machine. So I'm going to use a very simple command to know the IP address of this machine. Okay, so here's the IP address. That's 192.168.1.1.192.168.1.10. Okay, so here's a question. First of all, this is a virtual machine that I'm using, so I can access it. For instance, you don't have access to this machine. How will you find the IP of this machine? So here's how you can find it. Okay, so since it's running on my local network, I will type a command in my Kali Linux, which is netdiscover. So what this command does is that it will scan my local network and display all the devices that are connected to my local network along with their IP and MAC addresses. So I'm not gonna do it because some of my devices are also connected. But you can try this command and you can figure out the IP of the Metasploitable. But in our case, we already know it. It's 192.168.1.10. So we will simply do a nmap scan here. We will write nmap 1. Okay, we scan 192.1.10. Okay, so the nmap scan has started. Okay, okay, so as you can see that it has given us some results. So here you can see that it's uh, there are a lot of ports open on this machine, which makes it very vulnerable to attacks. The first port, as we can see, is 21, that stands for FTP port, that's open, and port 22 is open, that's SSH, and port 23, port 25, port 53. Port 53 is open in all the devices. Port 80 is also open in nearly all the devices. This is these ports are open because, as you can see, it's domain and HTTP ports, so it's required to open these ports, so that you can use your web browsers and the services that that uh, uses the web browser. Okay, that host something on the net or like that. So these ports are generally open. Okay, so there are a lot of ports open on this machine, and this machine is quite vulnerable to many attacks. Okay, so let's see. Now we will try some nmap scans that are very that you will be using most of the time. And the first scan in our list is nmap dash s, capital S, 192.168.1.10. That's the IP of our Metasploitable. And now the question is, what does this stand for? So let's go back to our notes and let me go here. So as you can see that here I've listed this scan, and this is a SYN scan or a stealth scan, and this scan only sends a SYN packet to the target and waits for the SYNAC response. When it receives a SYNAC response, it means that the port exists. This is fast and pretty accurate, used in majority of the cases. So what do I mean by this? The meaning, uh, uh, okay, so what does this command do is that, as I have told you already, that to establish a three-way handshake or a full TCP connection, we need to establish SYN, SYNAC, and ACK responses. Okay, so we have to complete these three steps. So but uh, the drawback of this is that if you establish a full three-way handshake, the target machine will know your IP or it will, you can say that it will know who is trying to attack it. So your security or your anonymity is, now you are not anonymous. Okay, so that's not good for us, right? So what does this scan do? It only sends a SYN packet to the target and waits for its SYNAC response. And if it receives a SYNAC response, this means that the target port that it is targeting is open. And if it does not receives after several several tries, it comes to a conclusion that either the port is filtered by the firewall or it's closed. Okay, so let's do not waste any time and run this scan. And as you can see, this scan is quite fast and it gave us the same results as you can see here. Okay, so we have completed one scan. Okay, now let me go back, and here is another scan, and here it's different. Here it's -st, and this scan is more accurate than SS scan but is slower, makes more noise, easily detected by firewall. And why is it easily detected? I have given the explanation that this is because it makes a full three-way handshake or a full TCP connection. So you can understand why this scan is, is why does it makes noise, and the target machine can identify that someone is trying to scan it using Nmap tool. So let's perform this scan. Okay, so let's scan it, and we have got the same results as obvious. But after performing this scan, the metasploitable will know that we have tried to scan it. Okay, so you shouldn't use this scan very often. And this is a -su scan, which is the UDP scan. You should also consider this is a very good scan, but it does take a very long time, and it's very slow, and it's very difficult also. But it shouldn't be skipped because many UDP services such as DNS and DHCP can be vulnerable, and if you can find those vulnerabilities, that will be good for you, and you can easily exploit the target machine using those vulnerabilities. Now we can shift to this scan, which is -sv and -o. -sv, what does V stand for? As you can maybe you can guess, -sv is a service version scan. So it scans that what's the version of the services that is running on an open port. So if we manage to get the version of vulnerable service, we can exploit it very easily. And -o is used to check the OS that the target system runs. So let's not waste any time and run this command. So let's clear the terminal, and we will nmap as v, then the IP of a metasploitable, and let's run this. This might take some time. Okay, as you can see, it nearly 83% completed. Okay, it's 95% completed now. Let's wait for some time, and I will meet you when the scan will be completed. Okay, we are back, and we have got quite some results. And as you can see, we have got the ports, their state, the service they are using, and also the version of the services. And now this is enough information, and we can exploit this metasploitable very easily. And let me tell you that this exploit, okay, VSFTPD 2.3.4, this is a version of the FTP service that this metasploitable is using. It's a very easy vulnerability that you can exploit. Okay, and all these also you can exploit. And wait a minute. Okay, you can see that there's a bind shell here, and if I try to connect this to this bind shell, I can easily exploit this metasploitable. Let me wait a minute. Let me wait a minute. Wait. Okay, So I will show you how to exploit this metasploitable in this video only, and this very easy with this vulnerability that we have found using the nmap sv command. And as you can see that here's an open port, and uh, the service is using is bind shell, and here's the and the bind shell is, you know, the metasploitable root shell. So if we can get access to this port, which is certain that we can we can get access to this port very easily, as this port is open, so we can, you know, we can exploit this machine. So let me wait a second. So here's a command that we can use which says netcat, and one we can you type the IP of Metasploitable, and then the port number 1524. We can just try to connect to this port. It hosts this. And as you can see, we are inside the Metasploitable root shell. And if I type ls, so here are all the directories of our Metasploitable, and since we are a root user, we can access all these directories. So we have entered the Metasploitable without even exploiting it. Actually, what I won't say this is an exploit. This is said to be a misconfiguration which opens a, you know, a root shell on an open port. It's actually a misconfiguration, uh, which which rarely happens. uh, this is a very critical misconfiguration that's in this machine, where a root shell is you know, this service is on an open port. Okay, so if you don't believe me, I can also type the command ifconfig, and as you can see, uh, the IP of uh, this Metasploitable is 192.168.1.10, as we have seen earlier. So let me exit. So we have exited from this terminal. Now we have the last scan to perform, which is the operating system scan, which is dash O. So let's scan it. Okay, so here we have got results. So we have got results, and these results we got earlier also, but we have something new here which says device type, which is general purpose, running on Linux, and we have also got the version. Then here we have the Linux kernel that it uses, and here we have got the versions of this. And if we want to, you know, also find the vulnerabilities of this, if this Linux version is vulnerable or not, there is a tool in Kali Linux that you can use, which is Certsploit, and you can specify the service, which is Linux, and the version 2.6.9, and we can hit enter, and let's wait for it to complete. And here we have got quite a lot exploits that we can perform on this machine. As you can see here, there are a lot of them. So this for today, guys, and please hit a like and do subscribe to my channel, and this will keep me motivated to post more videos like this. And again, if you like the video, please don't, you know, don't forget to like this video and also subscribe it. And thank you, and I will meet you next time. Till then, goodbye, take care.